Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to the King Angel Show, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'm King Angel, a San Francisco Bay Area live streamer and content creator here on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook as well. Happy Friday. Another day, another coffee, the news, and us. If you were here yesterday, what an interesting episode. Wow, that was pretty awesome. We started off with an article about a very unethical doctor, went down that rabbit hole, and then, dude, we ended up in true crime. It's crazy. Loved it. Chef's kiss. Like I said, happy Friday. I'm happy to be here. Feeling a little better. I guess so. Better than last week, I can tell you that much. Last week was, it was hell for me. But from the ashes, we shall rise. Listen. Being at the precipice and looking down and seeing the vastness of just like the worst of the worst that could happen to someone, you start to wonder why the air feels so crisp up here looking down. It's odd. I've been thinking about that lately. Listen, when you're down, you have nowhere else to go but up. When you've fallen, all you can do is push forward. And that's how I'm seeing it. That's the perspective on things. And you know what? It works. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to remain positive. Even, comparing your burden and whatever it is that you're going through to others that have it a whole lot worse. It's a pretty odd feeling. I can tell you that much. I don't know. I guess it comes with the whole package of being human and experiencing all these things. I've said it before, man. Life is hard. And it kind of doesn't seem like it's getting any easier. And as much as people try, it's just getting harder and harder. It's crazy. Whether it's cost of living, wages that don't increase. Well, I mean, I guess that's only here in the U.S. I can only speak of where I am and my current location. But I can understand why there's so much frustration out there. But I don't know. I think all you can do is push forward. Keep in mind that you only have this one life. At the end of the day, gotta look out for yourself. Gotta take care of yourself too. It's very important. Very important that you hold yourself to a, bigger regard. You're important. You're worthy. And once you get that part, then you start working on how to better improve yourself, because we are worthy, but we all have things that we want to work on to just become better versions of ourselves. I think that's what I'm going through right now. I've been experiencing that for quite some time, and it's been a learning process. It's definitely has had its lows. They've definitely outweighed the positives, I can tell you that much. Especially the last few weeks. But nonetheless, what saves my sanity and not only keeps me grounded, but provides a source of happiness for me is, believe it or not, being here in front of a camera. Reading articles. I didn't even know we had a train tracks around here. Well, I think I saw them once. I just heard a train from afar, but I I didn't even think that line was working. I guess they fixed it or something. I don't know. Haven't heard that in quite some time, but yeah. I think that's what I'm going through. If you're experiencing the same thing, it's gonna be okay. I keep repeating that to myself. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. You only have one life. And you're gonna experience good and bad in it. I just think it's a perspective that you have and the attitude that you not only have for the situation, but the attitude that you try to maintain while facing it. But yeah, this is my source of happiness. I love being here. I love being in front of a camera. I love being a source of a nasally falsetto voice, squeaky chipmunk reading articles and watching videos and learning and having fun, dude, and just hanging out, having a good time. This is a good time for me. Fucking love it. It's crazy how much my life has changed since being in front of a camera, like since either recording videos or live streams or whatever the case may be. Yeah, you would have told me this a year and a half ago, I would have probably questioned it. Maybe not laughed, because I've always wanted to do it, but I would have probably questioned it and had some sort of doubt. If you would ask me, if you would have told me this 3 years ago, yeah, I probably laughed. I probably would have laughed a little bit. Maybe a little chuckle. But nonetheless, again, not only is this a source of happiness for me, but my goal is to eventually become a source of entertainment for you, the person viewing me. A source of hangout and just a grand old good time without having the worry of troubles that are happening around you. You know, you can come here and we can just have a good time and learn things and go down a true crime rabbit hole like yesterday. That was fun. That was extremely amazing. I absolutely loved it, especially when chat gives not topics, but certain situations that happen, and we're able to look it up and read about it. We saw a video about it too yesterday, bro. That was crazy. Unethical doctors inscribing their initials into people's organs. You heard that correctly. You heard that correctly. You should watch that episode before I switch it over to unlisted, and it'll eventually be available for Patreon, because it was that good. It was that good. I'm actually pretty proud of yesterday's episode. So I'll leave it there for the weekend. It does have a title already on it. It should be yesterday's live stream episode. You can find it in the live section on my YouTube. Check it out. It's definitely worth it. I mean, they're all pretty good, but definitely check that one out. Yesterday's that was great. I had such a great time, and it was lots of fun. Let's start Coffee, the News, and Us. You already know where to find me: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. You can follow me there. I try to keep it as updated as possible, except for Instagram. It's such a big letdown that I've totally forgotten about it, but I must get back into the groove of posting at least something there. But they changed their terms of services now, so for you to actually get exposure, you have to do a whole lot more, and that sounds like way too much to do for a platform that is literally dying in front of our eyes. So I don't know if it's even worth going through that struggle. Facebook is still pretty big though, and you know, I'm trying to reach all ages, from obviously like 18 or up. Because although, all of the educational episodes that we do, man, that serves as a great source of entertainment and a source of education, because we do cover topics here of the historical types. We cover topics of mythology, art movements, artists, dude, a little bit of everything. The Library of Alexandria, different countries. So, yeah, you know what? I do curse a lot, though. So, that'll probably be something that could be a problem for the youth. Like, I wouldn't want them to be exposed to education / a sailor's mouth. I don't know how I feel about that. But 18 plus, dude, you get education and you get realness because someone's cursing. So it's a win-win in that situation. Yeah, that I never thought about that. I would eventually like to maybe create a channel that's completely squeaky clean to be able to have more outreach when it comes to education and learning, because I'm a graphic designer. That's what I did. So I've focused most of my life on like art, creative and stuff like that. So a lot of historical events that have gone under the radar or not really talked about, art movements that have happened. I'm just mentioning topics that I just briefly mentioned a few minutes ago. It all serves a purpose because I get to learn as well. So it's a win-win situation. While you're refreshing on a topic that maybe you already know about, or hearing about something that you've never heard of at the same time. That's probably the same case with me as well. And I'm happy that I'm able to use my platform for even a slight improvement of human beings and being part of the group that pushes towards, intellectuality and education and knowledge and information, and it's very important. And it kind of seems like that is slowly becoming a joke, if you want to call it that, something of the past. Apparently it's no longer cool, I guess, to be smart. Education has taken a back seat, and that confuses me a lot. That really truly sucks. I would not like to see where humanity is headed towards if that would actually be the case. And people just don't give a crap anymore about knowledge. Like, how do you think we've gotten so far? How do you think you're watching me right now? The articles that we read. Space.com. The fact that there's new medicine being created every day. Vaccines. Advil. All that, dude, it's created by a human being, and all that could only be achieved through knowledge and education. All of that could only be achieved through the curiosity and consistence of human beings trying to discover and find new ways, new alternatives, improvements. I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, life expectancy was pretty low. Pretty low. There was a point in history where life expectancy in the U.S. was like 35 or 40. Damn. Now people are living into their 80s, well into their 90s, and even past that. I read an article that says that at some point, human beings will be able to live past 120 years. I don't know if that's completely true or not, but if you think about it, with the medical advancements that we've been able to achieve up until this point, because of knowledge and education, why wouldn't it be possible? They're literally working on vaccines for different types of cancer that have had positive results up until this point. It's not available to the public, but they are working on it. So, I mean, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't us living until we're 120 years be achievable if advancements in technology and medicine can get us to that point? I mean, I don't know. Again, I like being part of the group that believes in education and that believes that science, history, the arts, literature, they have importance, and human beings cannot be without. You can't be without it. Curiosity will always reign over a human being's mind. 100%. If you want to further support me, said it before, you can use your Amazon Prime on Twitch Prime, and you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me there, and it'll notify you when I go live. If you want to take it a step further, you can try out my 7-day free trial on Patreon. If you like what you see, if you go through the audio, videos, pictures, I have a little bit of everything there. Past like true crime episodes and whatnot that are only available for Patreon members. You can try it out, and if you like it, it's $2 a month. That would really support me immensely. This is my bread and butter, and whilst I absolutely love what I do, I also have different ways that the community can support me. So Patreon is one, Twitch Prime is another. Another alternative is you can join the Discord, King Angel's Entertainment Lounge. We watch movies, album listens, documentaries, a little bit of everything. Trying to keep it as active as possible, but again, I mentioned it here before. It's hard to maintain a conversation when you're the only person that's talking. So if you're out there and you're looking for a hangout spot with fellow millennials, join my Discord, King Angel's Entertainment Lounge. All those links you can find in the description box of this live stream or in the About section if you're watching me on Twitch. I have a Reddit group as well, but there's no really in it. So just putting it out there anyways, if you're interested. I have a few blog websites as well. Well, not websites, but I have like a few blog posts out there. It's also in the description box as well. So if you want to check it out, feel free to. And that's about it. Let's go ahead and let's start Coffee, the News, and Us. I rambled a lot today, but nonetheless, it's Friday. Dude, look how awesome my t-shirt is. So it says hold hands. I've worn it before, but it was early last year when I started streaming. I hadn't put it on since, but it's hold hands. Take LSD. And the bottom part says find God. I fucking love this t-shirt. Dude, this is my festival t-shirt. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of pictures of me somewhere around the internet, or at least the t-shirt, because I get stopped a lot and people just ask to take a picture of it or take a picture of me with them. If you're out there and you've seen me with the t-shirt on, dude, send me those pictures, bro. Albeit it wasn't a festival to a whole lot of people, but yeah, definitely draws the attention, and I do like the attention. All right, let's start today's episode, Coffee, the News, and Us. I found this really interesting. We're going to start with Google News today. I found this really interesting article. It's called European Space Agency Hosts First Mars Livestream. And, yep, You don't have to tell me twice. That definitely sparked my interest. So we were reading off of CNN.com. This is, again, the title, See Images from the First Mars Livestream. Written by Madeline Holcomb and Jackie Waddles. And it was published today, Friday, June 2nd, 2023. So, it says, in a first, viewers on Earth got a chance to see Mars nearly in real time. The European Space Agency streamed on YouTube historic live images directly from Mars. The images, shared on YouTube's ESA's Twitter account and with the hashtag MarsLive, showed the planet in a way it has never been seen before, ESA said. The event celebrated the 20th anniversary of the launch of the agency's Mars Express orbiter, a mission to take three-dimensional images of the planet's surface to see it in a more complete detail. So, normally we see images from Mars and know that they were taken days before, said James Godfrey, spacecraft operations manager at Hey, nice picture though. At ESA's Mission Control Center in Darmstadt, Germany, in a statement. I'm excited to see Mars as it is now, as close to a Martian now as we can possibly get. But haven't we seen images of Mars before? Yes, but not live, the ESA said. Often data and observations of the red planet are taken when a spacecraft is not in direct contact with Earth, so the images are stored until they can be sent back, ESA said. Depending on where Mars and Earth are in their orbits around the Sun, the messages that journey through space can take anywhere from 3 to 22 minutes. The ESA had estimated it would take about 17 minutes for the light needed to form the images to travel directly from Mars to Earth, and then another minute to get through the wires and servers on the ground to get the live stream started, the agency said. Power of technology, huh? Okay, so we have an image here. It says ESA shared images it deemed as close to live as physically possible during a June 2nd, 2023 event. The images were pinged back to Earth with about a 16-minute delay, or as much time as it takes for the information to travel between Mars and Earth. So, it says, note, we've never tried anything like this before, so exact travel times for signals on the ground remain a little uncertain, the agency said in a statement prior to the event. No stars were visible in the background of the images because Mars is quite bright, noted Colin Wilson, a project scientist at ESA. If you're close to it, it is even brighter, Wilson noted, and that obscures the surrounding stars in this particular angle the spacecraft is snapping images from. But if you were on the Mars Express spacecraft, you would be able to see much of the cosmos, Wilson added. I love that word. Cosmos. It's such an otherworldly name for something that's so vast. Okay, so, and that it is in fact critical to how Mars Express navigates, he said. The spacecraft uses an onboard map and its imaging of the stars to orient itself in space, much the way humans have navigated the oceans going back centuries. Over the course of an hour, new views of Mars were expected about every 50 seconds, according to the statement from the agency prior to the event. However, for some time, the transmissions from Mars were interrupted, the ESA scientists noted, as a ground station near Madrid experienced bad weather. Some viewers may also have noticed that the red planet did not appear as red as expected. Jorge Hernandez Bernal, part of the Mars Express's visual monitoring camera team, noted during the live stream that Mars was appearing as it would if you captured an image with an iPhone, not as it would be seen with the naked eye. Color is a very complex topic related to the way our eyes work, he noted, and the spacecraft's images also undergo some processing to remove quote-unquote noise or unwanted disturbances in the imagery that can also alter their appearance. About 1 hour's worth of images were dispatched from Mars Express before the spacecraft moved too far from Mars to continue capturing the planet. Scientists noted that additional updates will be shared on Twitter. Okay, so I'll open their Twitter. Let's see the video that CNN has on top.
What if you could make analyzing a big bank's data?
What? That's an ad, I'm sorry. Alright, so while this I'm not giving a free promo to it. Okay, so this was. Okay, this is the actual live stream.
Hello. Hello world, watching ESA's first, the world's first, live stream coming to you from Mars.
Let me see, did this finish? Okay. Let's watch this quick video.
Where is Perseverance rover currently, and what is it up to these days?
So Perseverance is still in Jezero Crater. It is on this fan that is in Jezero Crater, and we've now climbed up on top of this fan and are exploring the sedimentary rocks on the top surface of the fan.
What can we hope to learn from this area?
We have recorded different depositional environments that could be lake environments, delta environments, river environments that really capture the history of water in Jezero Crater.
So what are some of the different types of rock that Perseverance has encountered since it landed 2 years ago?
We had a lot of debates early on before we landed, sedimentary or igneous, formed by volcanoes or formed deposited by water or wind. And as it turned out, these were igneous rocks, which was a surprise to us, but a really pleasant surprise because igneous rocks contain different kinds of information that we're interested in for return sample science. And so we have things like volcanic salt, rocks that likely formed deep in the interior of Mars from magma. Then we transitioned from that crater floor into the sedimentary deposits, and now we're here in sandstones, conglomerates, mudstones, the kinds of rocks that are deposited by flowing water.
What could we hope to learn from this diverse array of samples when they come back to Earth?
The fact that we have a diverse set of rocks means we have different types of potential habitable environments recorded within these rocks. Surface watery environments we know from here on Earth is a good place to record signs of ancient life, but there's also the potential that life could find habitable niches in igneous rocks when water flows through those rocks underground.
You've been wanting to get outside of the crater, so what does that look like?
There are a lot of mysteries outside the crater. This is some of the oldest crust in the solar system, and we're going to have a chance to explore that with the rover. But this is a part of solar system history that's not well preserved here on Earth. So we're going to get to see rocks of this age for the first time on Mars. It's unclear what these rocks are going to look like.
Sweet. Power of technology. How? How could we have achieved something like this? Get it to this point? Yep, you guessed it correctly. Knowledge. Curiosity. The need to search for answers. Doubt. Questions. You know, finding something out that then opens doors to other things that could result from whatever was found. You know, more questions that pop up. I mean, that then blended in with the fact that you can only achieve these things through education and generations and generations of information that has been passed down and then studied, looked into, either proven or disproven, and then from there other theories, and then we are where we are now. And it's extremely fascinating, at least for me. Chat, let me know what's fascinating for you, but for me specifically, this is it's just mind-blowing, especially when you see it from the outside perspective, and from the outside looking in, and how there's just so much being discovered, and you know, space and all these new, like, I guess, like, theories that have been proven, or using like mathematics, or, you know, formulas, you know, algebra, I don't know, man, whatever the case may be. Just seeing it from the outside, it's just It's so awesome, and it's, I don't know, it's a big help when it comes to like faith in humanity and faith in the future of the future for human beings, because at times it looks pretty bleak, especially with how we've treated the planet and how we have misused resources that Earth has provided us. How we constantly exploit this planet as if we are these immortal beings. When I've said it before here, I mean, the truth of the matter is, nature doesn't need us. It can thrive without us. Actually, it could thrive better without us, to be quite honest with you. So, I don't know. This is all pretty fascinating to me, and I hope it is to you too as well. Let's see the first live stream from the Red Planet. It's a pretty it's pretty long. We'll only watch like a few minutes, especially when they actually show the image, because it says underneath here, first image arriving soon.
We're expecting the first image to arrive to Earth, and then to YouTube, and then to your eyes in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
We know you've been waiting for a while. We're very happy with how many people have joined. I'm Rosa. To introduce myself, I'll be moderating today, and you have live audio commentary to let you know about what's happening on screen in front of you. So this is, to everyone who's just joining now, welcome to Mars Live from ESA, the European Space Agency. Again, we're about 5 minutes away from the first live image arriving at Earth, and these images are being sent down by Mars Express, our spacecraft in orbit around the Red Planet. And actually, Mars Express turns 20 today, so this is why we're doing this live. It's to celebrate Mars Express's 20th birthday, the mission that was only planned to last 2 years. As a little
spacecraft. It's the little spacecraft that could.
Monitoring camera, also known as the VMC.
You should write a book about this.
A low-quality
This would make a great
camera, originally developed in the late 90s purely for
science fiction
engineering
book.
purposes. So for that reason, don't expect too much in terms of the quality. It's got the nickname Mars Webcam for a reason. So I'll introduce you to the two experts who are in the room with me today, and they'll be answering any questions you have if you put them in the chat. I have Simon Wood with me. Maybe, Simon, you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Simon. I'm a spacecraft operations engineer on the Mars Express flight control team. So I'm one of the people whose day job it is to actually operate the spacecraft and ensure it's working correctly and taking all of the great science observations that it's been doing over the years. I'm also particularly responsible for the VMC camera as well.
How crazy is the fact that it says live from Mars on top? I don't know, like for a minute there, I felt like I was in like Total Recall and Arnold Schwarzenegger was gonna pop up all of a sudden. Because, yeah, I mean, think about it. Think about the fact that 100 years ago, if you would have said this to someone, they would have, dude, you would have probably been tried for like heresy or some shit like that, or probably jailed for talking crazy. And 100 years later, here we are sitting. What is it? Friday. It's 10:45 a.m. and we're watching a live stream, and it says live from Mars on top. It's insane. Again, curious minds have gotten us this far.
Well, so we've been sort of heavily involved in that over the years. As Rosa was saying, I mean, it has been nicknamed the Mars Webcam for a reason. It's very much the type of camera that you would have walked into your local, I guess, PC World if you were in the UK, or Saturn if you're in Germany. I don't know, maybe or he could tell me what the equivalent is in Spain, but you know, in the early 2000s, and because it was there for one reason and one reason only. It was there to take images of the Beagle 2 lander that Mars Express carried to Mars, specifically such that we could see that it was deployed correctly, and in principle, once those images were taken, it was going to be turned off, and there was no plan to turn it back on again.
So the current distance from Mars to Earth is
a few years later.
Per the numbers right on top. If you're hearing me on the audio version of the episode, that means you're a Patreon member, so I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. It says Mars-Earth distance is 301,074,524 kilometers. So, yeah, just wanted to put that out there. They're just showing... It's just the same image that keeps repeating itself, so they haven't really shown anything yet. Once the image is shown, I will try my hardest to give a description of it for you audio listeners. And on the actual Patreon post, I'll put the link to the same live stream so that you can see the images. And I'll also include the ESA's Twitter account as well, which we will be checking out once we see the image pop up here. Again, the commentator said it, that she she says that they dubbed it the Mars webcam, so it's not like the highest quality image, but the fact that we are even able to get an image of it is just extremely mind-blowing. And I'm really crossing fingers that that person that made a video on TikTok saying that planets aren't real, I hope this person gets either sent this live stream of the Live from Mars, or she reads like an article or something like that, so the person's mind can just blow, because that's an actual video someone took the time to record on TikTok and post with all the energy, with their full chest, saying that planets don't exist. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. That, what is it? 10,000 plus scientists that are scattered all across the world from every range. They're all in it. Come on now. Come on. So, yeah, I hope she sees this, and I hope this helps her in her journey through trying to figure out what to do with herself, because that's just crazy talk right there. That there are no planets. None of that. It's all made up.
Decided to have an attempt at recommissioning it, or at least seeing if it still worked. And I think to everyone's...
People say the stupidest shit for clout. Like, they'll say anything. We live in a world where, because of that accessibility that people have to be able to record videos now and express their opinions, dude, they'll post it, and people will take information out of their ass. They'll make it up, and they'll make a video about it and post it. No scientific data, no data proving what they're saying, no sources, nothing. They just make the video, they take the information from their booty hole, and they post it. And they turn the comments off. And stitches and duets. Because of course. Why would they have it on? If they had it on, then that would probably mean that they would have to face people questioning what they're saying. So they just turn it all off and let that misinformation spread out. There are no planets.
As far as it did. And so
I refuse to accept that we live in the age of
using it to take
extreme ignorance like that.
Planet, from typically from high altitude, and posting them on social media and on Twitter.
And I just want to say we're 2 minutes away now from the first picture, and in case you're wondering, the graphic that you're seeing moving across the screen many times is what we expect to see over the full hour. So as each picture comes in, Mars will move from the top right of the screen to the bottom left of the screen. So the first image you will see will only have a tiny little bit of Mars in
I think
the
it's because it's spinning.
right-hand corner, and because it's the first image, it will be extremely overexposed. So the quality will get better after the second picture. And I'll pass over to Jorge, who is a true expert when it comes to the Mars webcam, and he could introduce himself and a little bit more about what's happening, and expect the first image in about a minute.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jorge Hernandez.
Excited.
I am one of the people in the science team of BMC. It's in the last 5 years, more or less, we have been working to make from BMC not just an engineering instrument, but we have been recommissioning it to be a science camera with a lot of work in engineering and in the science as well. I am one of the persons who have been working on the science of the instrument, and I am also one of the persons who operate the visual monitoring camera in the AITA, and also one of the persons who work on the data processing of the camera to make it available to the world. In the last, we are very close to have the first image. Actually, we have been working a lot in the last few months to make a specific software, because we usually we don't retrieve science data in real time. So we needed really to change our operational software to make sure that we are able to retrieve the data in real time as it reaches to the ground antennas.
Oh, it looks like we might have something. And just to remind you, for anyone who's just joined now, this is the first ever live stream from Mars.
Oh, shit.
And it's coming from the Mars Express spacecraft. That is an ESA mission, 20 years old today, so wish Mars Express a happy birthday. And it, about 16 minutes ago, sent its first image down to Earth. And the teams here have been working very hard to make it possible that you can see that as soon as humanly possible. It's coming, everyone's quite excited. As we said, the first image will be quite overexposed, and Simon and Jorge can explain a bit why that is. And the images after that should be a bit more detailed. As we've said before, this is, here it is. This is the first image from Mars, and it's the most live you'll ever get, unless you travel to Mars, to the red planet itself. This is Mars 16 minutes ago, and Simon, maybe you can explain why we can't see what's happening right this very moment.
Well, it's actually very simple. Mars is a very long way away. As we can see on the actual stream at the moment, over 300 million kilometers. The images are traveling effectively from Mars Express to the ground station in Sobreros in Spain right now. And even though they're traveling at the speed of light, that distance is so huge. It takes 16 minutes and 44 seconds right now for those images to travel from the spacecraft back to Earth. So what you're effectively seeing right now is essentially if you were currently sitting on board Mars Express and effectively sort of looking to your left, then this is what you would be seeing. We've
all right, so
typically don't normally get images in this way.
For you Patreon members, it is quite terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. This looks like something taken directly from 2001: Space Odyssey. It is indeed not as red as it has described. Obviously, this is just basing it off of the image that we're seeing from the live stream, but solely based off of that, because again, this is a historical event that we're watching together, because it's the first time that the Mars Express has live streamed images of Mars. So, from the perspective of Mars Express, and given that there is a distance between Mars and Earth of, like the scientist was saying, 301,078,509 kilometers as of the point of this pause that I did on the video, because the number keeps fluctuating, obviously. Yeah, it definitely looks like something taken out of a Stanley Kubrick movie. Mind you, still pretty phenomenal to see. It's still pretty shadowed on one side, but they did mention that the first image could be overexposed. I'll continue on with the video, and I'll stop it later on when there's either a clear image or there's a bigger image of Mars, because right now it's only in a corner, albeit it's still big, but only occupying a corner of the screen. I guess.
The way in which Mars Express captures most of its science is what we would call store and forward. So basically, it will look at a part of the red planet. It will take pictures or use its spectrometers or its subsurface radar to collect the data. That data is then stored on board the spacecraft, and at the next opportunity that we have to talk to the Earth, because on Mars Express the actual antenna system is attached to the spacecraft. It doesn't actually move, so we have to slew the spacecraft to look at the red planet and then slew it back to point the antenna at the Earth. And so the next opportunity that we have, we transmit the data back. So the scientists could typically be waiting a couple of days potentially for some of their observations. Today we have a very unique sort of opportunity where we've got an ability to have a very specific pointing. So the spacecraft is not in its normal Earth pointing mode right now. It's sort of slightly rotated towards the planet, because that then allows us to enable VMC to see Mars whilst we can keep the antenna pointed at the Earth. And in fact, actually, the reason the stream is actually only about an hour long is because we can only really maintain this pointing for about an hour because of the way in which we have to orientate the solar arrays, and so it will start to put a load on the spacecraft's batteries if we just stay like this for too long.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this is certainly the first time that we've ever actually been getting real science data back in real time. It's quite a rare occurrence for deep space missions.
Think about it. As opposed to it being images captured, like, dude, this is like an actual live stream. Like, obviously there's a distance, there's the distance that I mentioned, and it actually says in the bottom the current signal travel time is 16 minutes and 44 seconds. So it's taking the signal from the Mars Express to Earth, being then processed, and then obviously being live streamed. So it's 16 minutes and 44 seconds as of the moment I paused the video, because it, as well as the distance between Mars and Earth, fluctuates. But still pretty interesting. I mean, wow, this is pretty incredible. And what a time to be alive. Maybe we'll get to a point where the live stream could be a lot more consistent, and we can get actual longer live feeds, because again, he explains that it's only an hour long, and I think it cuts at some point because of signal issues and whatnot. I mean, it makes sense, but again, just the fact that we are experiencing together something so significant as a live stream of Mars, that is crazy. Because that's it's not, well, I guess it's live from Mars, but it's not, they're not necessarily on Mars, but you get the drift. Still interesting, and it's still historical.
And for anyone who's just joined, a quick reminder that this is Mars Live, and this is for Mars Express's 20th birthday from ESA, the European Space Agency, and we're looking at, I think this is still the first image, or possibly we're getting the second image in.
No, this is the number 5.
Ah, we've had 5 images. Okay. Oh, you can actually see it move a little bit. That is cool. It will get more.
Well,
you'll see more of Mars soon. Maybe Jorge, you can also say why we're only seeing a little bit of Mars at the moment.
Yeah, actually, as Simon was commenting, right now Mars Express is a very specific pointing, because the antenna is pointing to the Earth and BMC is pointing to Mars, and because of that, we are going to see how Mars is moving from the top right corner to the bottom left corner, and now it's still in the corner. We can see that in the top part of the image it's the night. It's much darker because it's the night there. Actually, in the bottom, in the right side of the image, we have created this three-dimensional graph showing the position of Mars Express and the planet, and we can see in this graph the night, the day, and also we can see a curve from the planet that represents the part of the planet that we are seeing. We are seeing the southern hemisphere of the planet. And actually, it's very funny because we are seeing a cloud next to Arcia Mons right now. And it's kind of hard to see that in the left side of the image, there is kind of a white thing that corresponds to a cloud in Arcia Mons. This is not the famous Arcia Mons elongated cloud, which, as many people know, those who follow BMC, that's a cloud that we found some years ago that expands up to almost 2,000 kilometers. In this case, this is not that very special cloud, but this is a different cloud. This is an orographic cloud in Arcia Mons. We are right now in Mars. We are approaching we are in the aphelion season, which is more or less the cold season. We are also approaching the northern summer solstice. So actually, in Mars is right now kind of a similar time of us in the year.
So hold on, just really quickly, out of curiosity, how does time work? Okay, so the question I asked is pretty like basic question, but how does time work in Mars? So let's see what jpl.nasa.gov has to say about it. I will take off the ad blocker and let's see if there's the video. So Mars in a minute. How long is a year on Mars? So it says how long the typo there. It's a really bad typo. So it says the Earth zips around the sun at about 67,000 miles per hour, making a full revolution in about 365 days. 1 year on Earth. It says Mars is in about 365 days, 1 year on Earth. Mars is a little slower and farther from the sun, so a full circuit takes 687 Earth days, or 1 Mars year. That longer year means longer seasons too. Overextended Martian winters, the shorter days, and reduced sunlight mean that solar-powered spacecraft sometimes have to carefully conserve their energy. Timing of Mars years is also important. Every 26 months, we come closer to Mars, so it's one of the best times to send spacecraft. A shorter trip means less time and fuel spent getting there. When the Curiosity rover got to Mars, its mission was to explore Mars for at least 687 Earth days, 1 Mars year. But like our other long-lasting rovers, it hit its target and kept on rolling. Guessing that's what the video says.
How long is a year on Mars? The Earth zips around the sun at about 67,000 miles per hour, making a full revolution in about 365 days, 1 year on Earth. Mars is a little slower and farther from the sun, so a full circuit takes 687 Earth days, or 1 Mars year. That longer year means longer seasons too. Over extended Martian winters, the shorter days and reduced sunlight mean that solar-powered spacecraft sometimes have to carefully conserve their energy. The timing of Mars years is also important. Every 26 months, we come closer to Mars, so it's one of the best times to send spacecraft. A shorter trip means less time and fuel spent getting there. When the Curiosity rover got to Mars, its mission was to explore Mars for at least 687 Earth days, 1 Mars year. But like our other long-lasting rovers, it hit its target and kept on rolling.
Okay. Well, this is 2012. I want something a little bit newer, because there has been a whole lot more discoveries. Listen, someone asked on Quora.com, if there was a colony on Mars, how would their time be synced with Earth's time? It says it wouldn't. They probably measure time in sols, which is suns, which is a Martian day, about half an hour longer than an Earth day. That means they'd get up around sunrise, eat lunch at mid-Martian day, and go to bed after sunset. Mars rover teams on Earth work shifts timed by Martian sols, meaning their workday slowly shifts with respect to Earth days. John Scalzi in Old Man's War describes a planet with a day shorter than the Earth's, but they still use standard clocks. So the day began at 0000 and ended at 2213, then rolled over to 0000. On Mars, with a longer day, the clock would begin at 0000 and end at 0039. Since there would be 2 identical times in a day, to avoid confusion, we might have the clock run to 2439 and then roll over to 0000. I see some answers using 24 hours and 37 minutes. That's a sidereal day on Mars. Say the internal between successive passages of Sirius across the meridian. Since we'd use the sun for defining a day, we'd use a solar day, which is 2 minutes longer. Someone else responded, I don't think it should ever be synced with Earth time. Well, hold on. Does the first person say what they... Well, this person that responded is a retired geoscience professor, 36 years. This person is an amateur astronomer since 2001. He says, I don't think it should ever be synced with Earth time. I think it will always need to be translated, much as we currently do between time zones here on Earth. 2 main reasons for this. First, Mars rotates at a different rate than Earth, so the Martian day, or sol, is 40 minutes longer than Earth's. So the night-day cycle quickly becomes out of sync with Earth's. The JPL technicians that run the rovers on Mars have to continually change their shift hours to accommodate this. Additionally, the distance between both planets varies considerably depending on where they are in their orbits of the Sun, from about 34 million miles at closest approach to almost 250 million miles at the furthest. So the fastest a signal can travel between Earth and Mars at light speed varies between a little over 3 minutes to as much as 22 minutes. One way. Any sort of communication will essentially have to double that to account for the round trip time. In parentheses, it says, you may recall that the rover landings were described as 7 minutes of terror because the software had to be autonomous. You can't control the craft in real time, and you won't even find out if it has been successful or not for 7 minutes because of the delay in communication. So I think a separate Martian time system will need to be implemented and continually translated to GMT here on Earth, while calculations for the different rotation rate and current light time distance baked into the formula. Outlook is going to have to get a lot smarter to be able to schedule your Zoom meetings accurately. Oh, I guess that was tongue-in-cheek joke. But This electrical engineer, grounded in science, says their time would not be synced up. People on Mars would probably maintain both a Martian clock and an Earth clock, and consult the Earth clock only when they want to time something to coordinate with Earth schedules. Man alive. Just the fact that we're even having this conversation it's crazy to me. But now we know that there is an obvious difference. We'll move on with the live stream for a little bit more, and then we'll read into another article. But this is extremely interesting, and the fact that the scientist was explaining about the, I guess, white edge that we can see on the planet, and he was explaining those are clouds. It's crazy. Not clouds that formed, that were, I guess, formed a few years ago, and it was discovered and whatnot. I guess this is another set of clouds, because it's nighttime on Mars. Wow. Don't you feel like you're in a movie? Or you're in a science fiction book or something, like, and you're just seeing it from the outside? Because, wow. Even reading other people's posts about the question that we read about it sounds otherworldly, but yet, yeah, I mean, it is otherworldly, because obviously that's what they're talking about, but it still sounds pretty out there. Like, holy shit, like, wow, we've definitely made it this far, and we're just gonna keep going.
And in Mars, because we are in the aphelion, we are in the colder season, and this is not the season, not that season in which we have the dust storms, but this is the season in which we usually see a lot of clouds, mostly in tropical latitudes. Well, we are lucky because we don't always see so clearly a cloud with BMC, and in this case, RC Mons is very close to the border of the planet, and there is an holographic cloud there. There are other features in the image. Actually, as I told, this image is showing basically in southern hemisphere of the planet, and we don't see the South Polar Cap because the South Polar Cap is now covered by the night. But around the area, usually in this season, we can find a lot of hazes. Just they are very hazy and they are not so clear. I think that I can see that it's a bit cloudy in the southern hemisphere.
Wow.
So I see we're getting a few questions in at the moment. So one of them was actually, how much time does it take Max to actually make a full orbit of the planet? And it's actually just over 7 hours. So we typically do about just over 3 orbits a day. And actually, as Jorge was mentioning, you can see part of the planet is actually in darkness, because it's nighttime on the back side of the planet. And actually, what you will notice is that as the planet is moving effectively from the right to the left of the screen, so we're actually heading into the darkness, and
Ooh.
That's actually
spooky.
That's actually a particular effect that happens
heading into the darkness
throughout the Martian year.
Literally.
So Mars Express's orbit periodically takes it in a position where the planet is between the spacecraft and the sun. So that's actually where we're heading right now. So in a few hours' time, the spacecraft will be behind the planet to reflect the sun and effectively in darkness. And so at that point, its solar arrays are no longer generating any power, and it's completely reliant on its batteries to stay alive. And so this is a particular the eclipse seasons that we have an impact on the operations of the spacecraft, and on the science as well, because obviously whilst we're eclipsed by Mars, we're completely reliant on the batteries for power. So we have to dial down the amount of power that we're consuming so that we don't hit the batteries too hard, so we have to turn off some of the science instruments, or we can't run them for as long, or we have to take measures to keep the spacecraft warm, because obviously not only once it goes behind Mars and it's no longer in sunlight, not only do we lose power, the spacecraft is also getting very cold. So we take
Whoa.
steps to try to reduce the overall power consumption by doing things such as, once this stream finishes, a lot of the heaters on board Mars Express will then switch on and go on to full power to try to basically warm the spacecraft up as much as they can, such that when we approach the eclipse entry point and then we lose power from the arrays, those heaters will then go off. The spacecraft will cool down, but it will be cooling down from a much higher temperature, so that the heaters don't need to come on whilst we're in eclipse and we don't have power from the arrays. And so when we come back out the other side, the spacecraft will be cold, the heaters will come back on, it will warm up, but we won't be using the batteries to run the heaters. And that's in a spacecraft that's this old, I think our batteries are lithium-ion batteries, so it's very similar to the sort of things you'd have in your mobile phone. And I think everybody's got used to now the fact that after a number of years, your mobile phone charges very quickly, and it also runs out of battery very quickly. And so, lithium-ion batteries do age over time. And so, when on a mobile phone, you can either go and get a new battery, or you go and get a new phone. On a spacecraft, it doesn't quite work like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do everything we can to look after them. And so. We've been doing these various measures to ensure that we don't discharge them too much, and that we keep them topped up at most of the time. And so we found, basically by running them, by keeping them colder and not discharging them more than about 40%, that
there's these two
they're
white
actually
spots.
Much.
I don't know, but it moved with the image, and it's so bizarre to see. I'll be honest with you. Earth is way more beautiful. Man, and we treat this planet like garbage. But yet they're live streaming this planet, and it's again a historical event, but this planet has absolutely nothing on planet Earth. Nothing at all. When we see images from the space of Earth, dude, it looks majestic. This is pretty awesome to see, but I don't know. There's this fascination with destroying this planet and thinking that we're gonna eventually move to Mars. I've heard people say it, and I don't know. Seeing this, I think we should be taking a lot more care of the planet that we're currently on right now, because it's pretty damn beautiful. I mean, look at this. Awesome to see, but really, with how blue and vivid this planet looks in comparison to Mars,
much longer than we ever thought they would. And in fact, actually, even some of the battery experts who've analysed our telemetry are quite amazed at actually how well they've held up. So I think the takeaway from that is that if you really want your mobile phone battery to last a long time,
we treat this
don't
planet
discharge
like garbage,
it at 40% and keep it in the fridge at all times.
You heard it here first. We're actually about to be joined by one of the Mars scientists that works at AITA, so we can tell you a bit more about what's happening at Mars. Has there ever been life on Mars? Could there ever be life on Mars or water? But for anyone who's just joining, again, this is the first ever live stream coming direct from Mars. It's taking about 16 minutes for light signals to get to us. And we're getting this footage from ESA's Mars Express mission, whose birthday is today. And it's coming from the visual monitoring camera on board Mars Express. And actually, we have Colin here, who perhaps can introduce himself and maybe could talk about some of the other cameras on board Mars Express, as well as this one, and your personal connection, I think, to the VMC and its views.
Great. Hello. Yes, my name's Colin Wilson. We are here celebrating the 20th anniversary of the launch of Mars Express. So 20 years ago today it was launched. In fact, the exact anniversary will be in 1 hour 45 from now. So we're preparing a toast for that occasion. It's special for me because I did my PhD. I built a bit of equipment.
Sorry, mind you, it was only supposed to last 2 years in space, and it is now on year 20, which is what they're celebrating. So it is indeed an extremely big accomplishment, and you can tell that there's a lot of at least based off of the images that we've been seeing, there's a lot of mountains and definitely a lot of rocky areas. It's not Earth.
Which
saying,
went up
just want to
on the
remind
Mars
people.
Express rockets. It was part of the weather station on the Beagle 2 lander, which went up with Mars Express. So that launched on the 2nd of June. It then arrived at Mars in December, on Christmas Day, 25th of December 2003. Unfortunately, it was not successful in landing and then communicating back to the Earth. But we all knew it was a high-risk mission, but it was certainly a very emotional time for us all watching and waiting to see whether that survived. But that was Beagle 2, the lander, and of course Mars Express, the orbiter, has had a tremendously successful 2 decades of exploration of Mars. But I don't want to just talk about myself. What are all the questions which people have been sending in about this stream?
Well, some people are asking about life on Mars, water on Mars, and we had a specific question about one of the clouds on Mars. What's it made of and what is it? And I think this is in relation to what Jorge was telling us earlier about the huge elongated cloud that looked a bit like a volcano was erupting, but I think it wasn't.
So I think really the experts about the clouds, especially around the volcanoes, are the science team behind this VMC, this camera, of which Jorge is probably really the leading expert, so I'll hand back to him in a minute. But in general, if you want to ask about water on Mars, really the Mars Express spacecraft was put together to investigate water in all its forms. So from subsurface water and ices, looking for that. And Mars Express, one of its first results was demonstrating that there is indeed water ice in the polar caps of Mars. And not only can it see there's water ice in the polar caps of Mars, but it detected strong radar echoes from the subsurface, and then strong radar echoes from the base of the polar cap, which suggests there might be liquid water underneath those polar caps. Now this is still controversial.
Listen, have you seen the Europa Report? Excellent movie. I loved it. Not a lot of people liked it, but I thought it was pretty great. I've talked about it before here. But the ending of the movie, spoiler, if you have not seen the movie, I recommend you watch it. If you have, you will obviously know what I'm talking about because you saw the ending. But I'm gonna mention the ending. It's an old movie, so it's on you to watch it. But I'll try to keep the spoiler as minimum as possible. But it is definitely related to what he's talking about right now. In about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the ending. He mentions there being possible liquid, like water, in the base of the planet, and it's like subterranean and whatnot. In the movie, that's what happens at the end. They find water, but the thing is that what they find in the water is what should be most concerning of everything. Which, I guess it's like a kraken? I don't know. It's something very big, and then the movie just ends. But we all know that just kind of means that they all, So, very interesting movie. I highly recommend you watch it. But again, it goes hand in hand with what he's talking about there, and it's still, it's still data that's being accumulated, and it's research that with time we'll be able to have clearer answers. But I mentioned the obvious visual difference between our beautiful planet and Mars, in part because we as humans have done a very horrible job at maintaining this planet. And again, a lot of people think that we have an alternative to this, and they're still questioning whether there's water on the planet that could sustain life. We should take care of the planet that we are currently on. Because it's odd, because you live on the planet, like you're here. What would make you think that you're not responsible for maintaining it while you are here? It's like you rent an apartment and you understand that you have to maintain the apartment because it's not yours. I mean, if you really think about it, it doesn't really matter what perspective you're seeing it from. It's like the planet's not really yours, because you live and die, but the planet continues on. So it makes no sense that human beings don't take care of the planet they're on. It's like we're the worst tenant ever. Like the worst of the worst, because it's rented basically, because we live and die. Many generations have gone by, and it kind of seems like the planet is still here. So I'm on the side of thinking that the planet's going to outlive us all if we don't make the correct decisions and start taking care of it a lot more, and excluding things from our lives, and this reliance on plastic. And there's just so many things that as humans we've already dug ourselves deep into, and it's now that we're starting to realize that it does have really big consequences. So I would only hope that eventually we could all collectively snap out of the idea that there's an alternative to this. There isn't. We share the planet. Again, worst tenant ever. Worst tenant ever. Pass away, and then you leave all this garbage to the earth. Yeah. It's a planet that has to deal with it. Yeah. And not a planet as a whole, like with people. I'm talking about like the actual planet in and of itself. Horrible. Horrible tenants. Alright, let's continue on a little more with this. I want to get it to the point where... Oh, it actually is a whole live stream. It cuts at 1 hour because he only had about an hour feed. Let's do until the person that's talking finishes responding to the questions, and then we'll move on to another article. Still off of space.com. So I guess we'll just keep this episode of today solely for space news. Wonderful. Love it.
Interpretation is not simple. It might be liquid water mixed with ice, but that's certainly very exciting. So Mars Express has been investigating water there. It's been investigating the history of water on the surface. So these valleys carved by rushing water torrents, rocks which must have formed in the presence of water, so hydrated minerals and clays. And then up in the atmosphere, the atmospheric water cycles, the clouds as demonstrated, and then even the escape of water to space. So the questions are, what are light spots and white spots? And really for this I have to turn back to Jorge, who's the expert in these clouds.
Well, I guess we'll hear what Jorge has to say.
Just a couple of minutes ago, as Mars is moving in our field of view, a new clear cloud has appeared. This is a cloud that it actually looks like a bright spot in the right field of the image right now, and actually this is a high altitude cloud. Probably this cloud is something around 50 or 60 kilometers over the surface, and it's projecting a shadow. If you look carefully to the image, you can see right on the top right side of this bright spot, which is a high altitude cloud, there is a dark feature, and this is the shadow of the cloud. Here it's the morning. We are very close to the southern pole, so actually this is kind of this is like on the years when you are in very high latitudes. You can have days around the southern around the solstices in which the sun doesn't set or the sun never rises.
Whoa.
And here we are in a similar region. We are very close to the polar night, and close to this part, it's right now it's the morning, and there is where we see this cloud. Actually, with VMC we have been working a lot on high altitude clouds in the twilights, right? Like in the morning, in the very early morning, and also in the afternoon, right after the sunset. And well, this is an amazing example of this kind of cloud, and I'm very happy that we are seeing so many interesting features in this image, mostly because they are features that they are kind of easy to appreciate. Apart from that, they were asking about the points, the other points, the other features in the image. Also, close to the night, a bit on the top of the feature, of the bright feature that I told that is a cloud, there is a white area, more or less. It looks a bit like if it was a milky area, and that's the polar cap. And in the border of the polar cap, there is something like there is a bit more darker, a bit more brighter in some parts. That's one of the craters. I need to check which one is this, but this is one of the craters. The southern hemisphere of Mars is covered by a full of craters. And well, there are other things in the image. Basically, there are a lot of features because a lot of topographic features in specific, and there are also some hazes around. But we have basically two very clear clouds, which are very opaque clouds, and they are very bright. And then we have a lot of topographic features and a lot of hazes that are around, but they are not so easy to spot.
One of the questions we've had a lot is about why we can't see any stars, and also if we could possibly see Mars's moons. So over to Colin.
Okay, so the question about stars is completely fair. The answer is simply that Mars is very, very bright. So you can see Mars from the Earth. You can see the planets appear. If you look in the evening sky tonight when the sun sets, the first thing you'll see as the sky gets darker, the first thing you'll see, other than perhaps trees and planes and things, is Venus. Venus is a very bright planet, but then to the left of Venus, you will also see Mars. It's bright, and it's bright here from Earth, but if you're very close to it, it is even brighter, and so it's so much brighter than the background stars. That's why they do not appear in this image. But if you were in space where this camera is, you would be able to see stars when you turn away from Mars. And that is in fact critical to how Mars Express navigates. And many of our spacecraft navigate by having star cameras. And they have on board, they have star maps. And so they, like mariners of old, they navigate using the stars. And that's how they know which way they're facing. So if you were where the spacecraft are, then you would see stars. There was another question about how we know these are clouds. So here's Jorge again to tell us.
I misspoke at the beginning. I guess I misunderstood them saying that it was nighttime, but I guess they just mentioned a few minutes ago that it was actually sunrise, which is why it's so bright. So the edges is light. The clouds that he's talking about are patches that you see on the actual planet. So if you're watching the actual image, again, I will include the links to the live stream, to this European Space Agency live stream, so that Patreon members can hear the audio of this episode and watch the live stream as well, so they can see what they're talking about. You know what? I'll even do like a quick screenshot as well. The current signal travel time is still the same. It's 16 minutes and 44 seconds. And the distance between Mars and Earth at this point is 301,092,852 kilometers. So, pretty far. Indeed, very far. Damn, I want to move on to the next, another article, but I'm intrigued and interested as well in what they have to say. So, a little bit more, and then we'll move on.
No, at first I wanted to comment on the stars, because with EMC actually for calibrations we have sometimes spotted both Phobos and both the stars, but for that we use very high exposures and we point to a very different position where Mars is not present. Otherwise Mars would be so bright that we would not be able to see anything.
So we often can see the moons of Mars from Mars Express. Mars Express, as you can see on the right hand of your image, it's got quite an elliptical orbit. So the big ellipse you see shows how far from Mars sometimes Mars Express gets. And right now this ellipse shows, it's got an apocenter. It's furthest from Mars when it's high over the southern hemisphere. But that does vary. So sometimes we're high over the equatorial latitudes, and when that happens, we pass really close to Phobos, which is the bigger moon of Mars. So sometimes we pass as close as 50 kilometers from Phobos, which is very, very close, and so then we get very good images indeed. And so Mars Express has been critical for building up images of that moon. So this is quite exciting because coming up in a few years, we've got a very ambitious mission, which is the Japanese-led Mars Moon Exploration mission. So ESA has a small part of that, and we will be collaborating with them. But that is not only going to image the moons in detail, it's going to orbit Phobos, and then it's going to land on Phobos briefly. It's going to touch down on the surface, grab a sample of the moon, and take off again. And then bring that sample, which is grabbed from the surface, it's going to bring that back to Earth, and that's very exciting. So apparently there's questions about the rotating graphic on the right. Jorge, do you want to say something about that?
Well, I don't know what are the questions.
Yes, I think some people would like to know about this graphic on the bottom right that we've been showing, and that was one that you made. Maybe you can explain a bit about it.
Yes, basically, as part of the live observation, we wanted to allow people to really understand a bit what we are seeing. So when we made this graph in a way that we can see that Mars Express is, as Colin was telling, in the apocenter of the orbit or close to the apocenter. And in this graph, basically, we see the planet, and for this. For the map of the planet, we choose a topographic map of the planet, because this way we can really see what are the features, the topographic features that we have there. And well, indeed, the part of the planet that we can see in the image is the one. Basically, there is a circle that is around Mars, and then there are two lines that go from the border of Mars to Mars Express. Those lines are showing us which are the limits of the part of Mars that we can see. And then the circle that is around Mars, it is also allowing us to see which are the part of the planet that we can see. And what we see is the southern hemisphere. And
okay, so this is a southern hemisphere of Mars that, I mean, is what the live stream is showing.
Well, basically, we wanted to make this kind of graph to try to help in the understanding of what are we seeing here, which is basically the southern hemisphere. But for example, now in a moment, now we have seen the Tarsis Vulcanus in our site. Let's wait a bit for another rotation. Right. There it is. Tarsis Vulcanus. So we see that the limit of the part that we can see is in the volcano of the middle, and we can see the volcano of the south. The volcano of the south is Arsiamons, and we can see in the three-dimensional graph that this is part of the area that we can see. And
Hey, it's a volcano.
In the
holy shit,
live image, we can see this volcano like brown spot, a dark spot in the left part of the image, and then as I told before, we have right now a small cloud right in the bottom of this volcano. This cloud is growing to the west, which is kind of the common thing in the season. In the season in Mars, we see a lot of orographic clouds in the volcanoes of Tarsis, and here we have a very good example. But well, basically,
stop talking about the clouds. We've got drama. We've got high drama here because you may be noticing that the image is not changing. And so this image was acquired at 1805, and then if you add this travel light time, this image will have reached Earth at 21 minutes past the hour. But that is some time ago. So what has happened? We're just hearing from the people in the spacecraft wizards who are driving it. There is apparently bad weather around the receiving station, which is corrupting the reception of the signal.
The receiving station is in Spain, because specifically, it says it here because this is what we read from CNN.com before we started. It's a ground station near Madrid. Experienced bad weather.
So this is where I would like to hear more about exactly which is going on. Which ground station are we using for the reception of this signal?
Cebreros.
So we're using the Cebreros station, which is near Madrid. It's just west of Madrid. My colleagues in Madrid, because we have Science Operations Center for Mars Express in Madrid, tell me that after months of dry weather, it's been raining in Cebreros. And so apparently bad weather at Cebreros is corrupting the signal. So we did have images coming through 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So we can hope that there are some more images will be released soon.
Okay, I'm gonna jump to when the image comes back, because you can actually see here there's like a disruption. So it should be around.
Well, not just for kids, but I'd quite like it myself too. Jorge, maybe you could take this. How are signals taken from the air and translated into these images that we can see visually?
Oh, okay, so there it starts changing.
Yes, that's a long process because
I guess there's like some type of signal
a bunch of ones are zeros. So there are
being transmitted. The time changed as well. So
I, as a scientist who works with data processing, basically get some data
again,
from the
current signal travel time is 16 minutes and 44 seconds.
Well, they have other
as of
systems and they see a lot of other
that
things,
point.
and they filter. Oh, we have a corrupted image. This is because yeah, this is a bit like art. The thing is that because
there we go.
bad weather.
Whoa. Very ominous.
The program that we have here processing. Well, now we are receiving. I think. Yeah, I think that it's going to solve in a few seconds probably. But basically, what we have here is that because we have bad weather, we load some packets. I will speak out this moment, and because of that, the program was not able to solve the real image, and it basically put here we have a good one. I think that.
Yeah, you can tell the time changed.
Simon was telling me that the weather is going better.
There we go.
In the case of PMC, we have 76 packets. These packets are the kind of the way in which engineers put the information in a way that the scientists can really access to the data. And with these 76 packets, each packet includes more or less like 4 kilobytes of information, and from that, basically, each byte corresponds in the case of PMC to a pixel of the image, and then we create the BMC image from those packets. Now, because in the case of BMC, it was not designed to be a science camera, so there is a lot of processing to be able to obtain beautiful images like this, and this involves a lot of things. One of the things is the thing of the color. It's very common to ask what is the real color of Mars, and in fact, in these images, they don't show the same colors as we could see with our eyes. Actually, color is a very complex topic related to the way in our eyes work. But basically, in the case of BMC, the color is more or less with the same system as with mobile phones. They have a something called Bayer pattern, which is that each pixel has different colors, and then we make color images from that. But it's not like it's not the ideal science color image. And well, we also remove the noise, and we do different kind of processing to try to obtain an image that looks like this from the ones and zeros that we get from Mars and that engineers.
Yeah, but I mean, just based off of the image, the live stream that we've been seeing, it's definitely not like bright red like it's normally depicted. It looks quite like it has like a desert sepia kind of color to it. Very ominous. We need to take care of planet Earth. This is so awesome, but we're so spoiled as humans. Have you seen Earth? Like, have you seen how beautiful this world is? Even with all its bad things caused by humans. Even with all that, dude, it's amazing. And we're spoiled brats and we don't take care of it. Like I mentioned before, the worst tenants ever. I wonder our landlord is... Planet Earth, Mother Nature, is consistently mad at us and is pretty pissed off. We don't take care of this planet. Damn it! I keep repeating the same thing, but I don't. It just infuriates me that we have it so good here, and Mars does not look like somewhere I'd want to be.
Process a bit for us to...
You count me out. You leave me on Earth. I like it here.
Get actually away from the antenna that I will not understand, and they help us with that, of course.
But actually, I mean, for Daniela, it's even more complicated with your camera because you don't just have a flat image. You actually take pictures in 3D.
Yeah, we do not take them in 3D. We take them in 9 different channels, 4 color channels and 5 panchromatic channels. And we use basically 4 of those 5 panchromatic channels, which are taken at different viewing angles to produce a digital elevation model. The principle is just as how we do this with our eyes. So we have 2 eyes of 2 different positions, and we look at the world with 2 different viewing angles, and our brain creates a 3-dimensional image of this. And we do pretty much the same, just a little more sophisticated. And so we get our 3-dimensional images. So, but this is a long way of image processing, and the raw images are, of course, they look like a photograph. But very long photograph. We don't take our images like a framing camera, so at one shot you get the entire area. What we do is we have a scanner, a line scanner. We scan the surface in thousands of lines and stitch them together in a very long image stripe, which we also call an orbit.
Okay. The questions are coming in very fast, and I think we're taking a long time to answer these questions, so we can try giving some short answers to questions. There's some fascinating questions in there. One question I just saw is, what is the power broadcast from the spacecraft, and what is the power received at Earth? Simon, have you got...
It's a good question.
I think it's tens of watts at the spacecraft?
I think the transmitter on the spacecraft uses 120 watts of power.
And then it transmits about like 5 or 10 watts of transmitted power. So if you imagine a 10-watt light bulb or something like this, that is about how much power we are sending from Mars. So it's phenomenal to think that you can observe something consuming as much energy as a light bulb from 300 million kilometers away. So that's how much is broadcast, and then by the time it's 300 million kilometers away, we are sensitive. I think I saw a plot today of zettawatts, which is a millionth of a millionth of a thousandth of a watt. It's a tiny amount, and that's just a testament to how sensitive the receivers are in these very big dishes.
Which is why they had to measure the amount of time that they were able to do a live stream, because they didn't want the batteries on the Mars Express to like overwork and then just end up not working anymore. Crazy. All right, I'm gonna leave it right there. There's only like it I skimmed through a bit of it. It's pretty interesting, but I do want to read another article. But this was pretty great, especially that part when the image came back. The reconnection. Oh, dude, that was pretty awesome. The whole live stream that we just checked out was pretty great, and we read about information in regards to time that apparently works extremely differently on Mars. I think it's like what, 687 days as opposed to 365 here on Earth. Crazy. Yeah, one Mars year is 687 days. Wow. This is where we are. Shout out to all those engineers and scientists and astronauts. They're all scientists to me. Fuck it, they're all worthy of admiration. We thank you. Us normal people, we thank you very much and appreciate your work. Let's see. Ooh, let's see. Let's see what it says about the James Webb Space Telescope. We actually saw that live stream when it happened a few months ago. It's pretty good. It's pretty great. Had a great time. Still from space.com, it says NASA's James Webb Space Telescope mission live updates. This was written by Elizabeth Howell. Contributions from Daisy Dobrojevic, and it was published about 6 hours ago as of today, June 2nd, 2023. Wow, summer's here. It's supposed to be the coldest. It's supposed to be one of the coldest summers here in Northern California, and I'm a little bummed out about that. A lot of people are very happy. I'm a little bummed out. I was expecting some sunlight. All right, this is okay. So NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, the agency's successor to the famous Hubble telescope, launched on December 21st, 2021 on a mission to study the earliest stars and peer back farther into the universe's past than ever before. Webb is currently at its observing spot, Lagrange Point 2, which is L2, nearly 1 million miles, which is 1.6 million kilometers. It is the largest and most powerful space telescope ever launched. Shit. Okay, so this was as of 06/1940. Well, it's 620, I guess. 619. The James Webb Telescope has spotted water around a rare comet located in the main asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. The observation represents another scientific breakthrough for the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, representing the first time that gas, in this case water vapor, has been detected around the comet in the main asteroid belt. This is important as it shows that water in the early solar system could have been preserved as ice in the main asteroid belt. Whoa. Yeah, this was today's update. The last one that they did was on April 27th, 2023, and it says a mode of the James Webb Space Telescope, which is JWST, mid-infrared instrument, which is MIRI, is receiving less sensor throughput, meaning it's receiving less than the expected amount of light at the longest wavelengths. NASA officials are currently investigating the cause. Okay, let's see. This is curious. Same website, space.com, but this was published 18 days ago. It says James Webb Space Telescope discovers water around a mysterious comet. It says this was written by Robert Lee, and again, it was published 18 days ago. The study of comet 238P Reed, which lurks in the main asteroid belt, could help reveal the source of Earth's water, a vital ingredient for life on our planet. We sell it in plastic bottles. Isn't that ironic, huh? The James Webb Space Telescope has spotted water around a rare comet located in the main asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. Let's see. This is okay. Well, this is the same that we just read, but I'll still read it because it goes with the rest of the article. So, the observation represents another scientific breakthrough for the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, representing the first time that gas, in this case, water vapor, has been detected around a comet in the main asteroid belt. This is important as it shows that water in the early solar system could have been preserved as ice in the main asteroid belt. In the past, we've seen objects in the main belt with all the characteristics of comets, but only with this precise spectral data from the JWST can we say yes, it's definitely water ice that is creating that effect. University of Maryland astronomer Michael Kelly, who led this research, said in a statement, "With the JWST's observations of comet Red, we can now we can now demonstrate that water ice from the early solar system can be preserved in the asteroid belt." Wait, hold on. Before we watch this. The discovery of water vapor around comet 238P Red or Reed, whatever you want to say, could significantly boost theories that water, a vital ingredient for life, was delivered to our planet from space by comets. Chan chan chan. But the study of the comet has also delivered a mystery. Carbon dioxide, which astronomers expected to see, is missing from comet 238P Red. I don't know. Okay, so let's see what space.com has to say. I don't get it. Why would they add music to it? I don't even know if it's like copyrighted or not, but whatever. The video had absolutely no significance to what we're reading, so I'll just move on. The seeming lack of carbon dioxide around comet 238P Reed or Red, whatever you want to say, was more surprising to the team than the discovery of water vapor, as this compound has been previously calculated to make up as much as 10% of the volatile matter in comets that is easily boiled off by the sun. The team said that there are two possible reasons why comet 238P we'll just say Reed may be missing carbon dioxide. For one, the comet may have had carbon dioxide during its formation, which it has lost thanks to warming by the sun. Being in the asteroid belt for a long time could do it. Carbon dioxide vaporizes more easily than water ice and could percolate out over billions of years, Kelly said. The alternative theory for the lack of carbon dioxide is that this main belt comet may have been formed in an area of the solar system devoid of the compound. Well, so there's an actual image of comet 238P-Reed captured by the James Webb Space Telescope on September 8th, 2022. It looks quite terrifying. All these images look terrifying. Everything we've seen to this point. It literally looks like a bright white with blue emanating from it. Not necessarily in the center of the image, but a little bit more upwards to the left, and it's that and just darkness surrounding it. Yeah. Quite terrifying. That's my own personal opinion, though. I mean, I find it fascinating, but that I've seen enough sci-fi horror movies to know that there's things that there are weird creatures that can come from there. All right. It says, come here often, investigating main asteroid belt comets. As its name suggests, the main asteroid belt is mainly home to rocky bodies like asteroids. Yet it does also host the occasional comet-like body like Comet 238P-Reed. These cometary bodies can be identified by the fact that they periodically brighten as a halo of material or a coma surrounds them. They can also develop a tail of material that is characteristic of comets. A comet's comma and tail come from solid icy material, which transforms straight into gas through a process called sublimation as comets approach the sun and heat up. This sublimation is why astronomers had theorized that all comets come from the Kuiper belt out past Neptune, or the Oort cloud, which is believed to exist at the very edge of the solar system. Both locations would offer the water ice in these bodies protection from solar radiation, allowing it to be preserved, while a location closer to the sun near Mars might not. That make for a pretty excellent thriller, like a sci-fi thriller. Astronauts discovering accidentally the very edge of the solar system. When they're abducted and taken to this, I don't know, land or planet or something hidden, and I guess the movie can start from there. And I'm giving these movie production companies way too many ideas. Nothing to pay me for it. Don't take my idea. I have proof that, albeit I didn't come up with it, but I made up the idea. So don't steal my shit. I mean, this everything I've read up until this point, everything we've seen up until this point, it sounds straight from Total Recall. It sounds just mind-blowing. I'm just gonna keep it at that. And it's this is just one out of so many that we're going to see in our lifetimes, if we're lucky enough to be able to see them. That's crazy. That in and of itself is pretty awesome and pretty scary too, especially with AI and whatnot. I don't know, man. Okay, let's see what else it says. The classification of main belt comet is a fairly new one, and Comet 238P-Reed was one of 3 objects that helped establish this family of comets found closer to Earth. Astronomers weren't unclear whether these ice bodies could also hang on to frozen water. This is the very first conclusive evidence that they can. Observing the comet in such detail is quite the feat for the powerful space telescope, and it represents the first time that gas has been confirmed in such a main belt comet. Our water-soaked world, teeming with life and unique in the universe as far as we know, is something of a mystery. We're not sure how all this water got here. Research co-author and Webb Deputy Project Scientist for Planetary Science, Stephanie Millam, said in the statement, "Understanding the history of water distribution in the solar system will help us to understand the other planetary systems and if they could be on their way to hosting an Earth-like planet." The team will now aim to look past Comet 238P-Reed to discover if similar rare comets have similar compositions. This could involve further observations with the JWST and other telescopes, and in situ missions that could actually collect samples from main belt comets. These objects in the asteroid belt are small and faint, and with the JWST, we can finally see what is going on with them and draw some conclusions. co-author, and Universities for Research in Astronomy, which is AURA, astronomer Heidi Hamel said, Do other main belt comets also lack carbon dioxide? Either way, it will be exciting to find out. Damn right it will. Once there's any sort of talk about like water, all the scientists' ears just like pop, because that could open doors to other things, like conquering other planets. That's what it's good. That's what we should call it. It's the need to have to destroy this current planet that we're on and go to another one that we have hardly any information about. Well, not hardly, but we don't even know if life can be sustained there. Have people talk about going to Mars one day. Could barely take care of this planet. Go to another one? Come on now. Ooh, this was published 4 hours ago. We're reading from Google News. It says, this is scitechdaily.com. It says, don't miss the star-studded June sky. Mars, Venus, Spica, Arcturus, and the Summer Triangle. Oh, interesting. This was ran by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, published today, June 2nd, 2023. In June 2023, skywatching highlights include the nearing of Mars and Venus, the leading of Saturn into the dawn of Jupiter, and the bright evening stars, Spica and Arcturus. Key events are Mars in the Beehive cluster on June 1st and 2nd, a full moon on June 3rd, a new moon on June 18th, and the June solstice on June 21st, which also marks a unique alignment of the crescent moon, Venus and Mars.
What's up for June? Planets buzz the beehive, your bright evening stars, and how the summer solstice revealed the size of planet Earth. On June 1st and 2nd, Mars will be in the Beehive. The red planet passes through the Beehive cluster, also known as Praesepe or M44. It's a well-known open cluster of stars located about 600 light-years away in the constellation Cancer Crab. The pairing will make for great viewing through binoculars or a small telescope, with a sparkle of faint stars surrounding the rust-colored disk of Mars. You can watch Mars and Venus draw closer together throughout the month in the western sky following sunset. Nearby is brilliant blue-white star Regulus, the heart of Leo, the lion. And on the 20th through the 22nd, the crescent moon passes through, making an especially lovely grouping at dusk on June 21st. Turning to the morning sky, Saturn and Jupiter rise before dawn, with the ringed planet rising around midnight and leading brilliant Jupiter into the new day. Early risers will find them on the eastern side of the sky before sunup all month long. And you'll find Jupiter rising with the crescent moon on June 14th. Facing southward early on June evenings, you'll notice two particularly bright stars high up in the sky. They are Spica and Arcturus. Blue-white Spica is the brightest star in the constellation Virgo, the Maiden. It's located about 250 light-years away and is actually two stars orbiting each other every 4 days at a distance far closer than Mercury orbits our sun. Orange giant Arcturus is the brightest star in the constellation Boötes, the herdsman. It's the fourth brightest star in the sky. It's much closer than Spica at a distance of about 37 light-years. It's also quite an old star compared to our sun at an age of 7 to 8 billion years. Also on June evenings, you'll notice the stars of the summer triangle, Vega, Deneb, and Altair, rising in the couple of hours after dark and heralding the long, warm nights of northern summer. The triangle rises earlier each month as summer progresses. June 21st is the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere and winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. For the north, it's the longest day of the year as the sun traces its highest, longest path across the sky. More hours of sunlight, in addition to the more direct angle of the sun overhead, translate into warmer summertime temperatures for our planet's summer hemisphere. The situation is reversed for those living south of the equator, where it's the shortest day of the year during the cool months of winter. The June summer solstice has another interesting claim to fame. It helped the ancient Greeks 2,200 years ago to understand the size of our planet with remarkable accuracy. A scholar named Eratosthenes noted the difference in the length of the shadows cast by poles placed in the ground in two cities 800 kilometers apart at noon on the day of the solstice. One cast no shadow at all, and the other cast a significant shadow. By comparing the shadows with the separation of the two cities, Eratosthenes deduced that Earth was about 40,000 kilometers in circumference, which is the actual value. He was also the first to calculate the tilt of Earth's axis, which, after all, is what's responsible for the solstices and for the seasons themselves. Here are the phases of the moon for June. Stay up to date with all of NASA's missions to explore the solar system.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so full moon June 3rd. There's a new moon June 18th. Man, wish I had a telescope. Or I wish I knew someone that had a telescope around here. Because that would be... I actually do know someone that has a telescope now that I realize it. Huh. Should give him a call. Specifically for June 21st, the crescent moon makes a lovely grouping with Venus and Mars tonight. Find them in the west following sunset. That'd be such a delight to see. Man, I wish I had a telescope. Right, I have time for one more article and then we'll call it a day. It is Friday. Oh wait, this wasn't when it was here. Ooh. Okay, so this is from sciencealert.com. Title says, hundreds of mystery structures found at the heart of the Milky Way. This was published today, June 2nd, 2023, and it was written by Michelle Starr. And it says, and if it, well, I mean, the image in and of itself is very beautiful. Dang, too bad I can't just open it here. I'll make it a little bigger so that you can see the image. Wow. So it says, an investigation into the mystery filaments hanging in space around the heart of the Milky Way has turned up an entirely new population of them, aligned along the galactic plane and pointing in the direction of the galactic center. The magnetized strands are likely the remnants of an outflow from the supermassive black hole Sagittarius A, interacting with the surrounding gas a few million years ago, says astrophysicist Fahad Youssef Sadeh of Northwestern University. Although Sagittarius A is pretty quiet now, these remnants suggest that our galaxy's center has been active recently, on cosmic timescales, that is. And their discovery also means that our galaxy's center, as wild and woolly as we already knew it to be, has more fascinating secrets lurking within. It was a surprise to suddenly find a new population of structures that seem to be pointing in the direction of the black hole, Youssef Sadeh says. I was actually stunned. Well, I'm sorry, but it's the array of colors in the image. It says this is the description of the image that I'm seeing. All the filaments discovered to date color coded with position angles, and it's like an explosion of beautiful colors with a pitch black background. It's pretty beautiful. Okay. I was actually stunned when I saw these. We had to do a lot of work to establish that we weren't fooling ourselves, and we found that these filaments are not random, but appear to be tied to the outflow of our black hole. By studying them, we could learn more about the black hole's spin and accretion disk orientation. It is satisfying when one finds order in the middle of a chaotic field of the nucleus of our galaxy. Jeez. Filaments floating about the galactic center aren't a novel finding. In fact, Yusuf Isadeh with two of his colleagues discovered them in the 1980s. Around 1,000 long vertical magnetic structures up to around 150 light years in length, and hanging in surprisingly orderly arrangements like harp strings. Wow, what a beautiful description. These could be the results of winds gusting from an active supermassive black hole, or turbulence in the intergalactic medium stirred by the motion of galaxies. The new population was discovered in data collected by the Meerkat Radio Telescope in South Africa. Yusuf Sadeh and his team were cleaning up the data, removing the background to make the vertical filaments more visible when something else emerged. That something was a new population of galactic harp strings. That's beautiful. I love the harp. It's probably third on my favorite instrument list. Top is I group them as strings, so cello, violin. Second is, believe it or not, a computer. Yep, very viable instrument. Very new. The combination of the first two, and then third, the harp, because it's just a very celestial sounding instrument. And yeah, shout out to all the other instruments out there, of course. I mean, guitars and drums, and they're all pretty awesome, but in my personal opinion, those are my top three, and they make for beautiful music when combined. So moving on, we have always been thinking about vertical filaments and their origin. Yusuf Sadeh says, I'm used to them being vertical. I never considered there might be others along the plane. And the discovery is something else entirely compared to the vertical ones. The new structures are more like dashes than lines. Short, hundreds of structures around 5 to 10 light years in length, and laying horizontally along the galactic plane, rather than vertically like the other filaments. Although all these structures were magnetized, the vertical ones accelerate particles to near light speed, while the newly discovered horizontal ones appear to emit thermal radiation. They're also radially arranged just on one side of the galactic center, pointing back towards Sagittarius A, compared to the parallel arrangement of the vertical ones, arrayed all around the galactic center. These radial arrangement also seems linked to the orientation of Sagittarius A. It seems to point not just at the black hole, but at a radial outflow driven by the astrophysical jets that erupt from around a black hole when it is actively accreting material. Jeez. One of the most important implications of radial outflow that we have detected is the orientation of the accretion disk and the jet-driven outflow from Sagittarius A along the galactic plane, Yusuf Sadeh says. Okay, so one of the most important active for a supermassive black hole means that material is falling or accreting onto it from a huge disk of material that swirls around it like water around a drain. But not all the material ends up beyond the black hole's event horizon. Some of it is diverted and accelerated along magnetic field lines to the black hole's poles, where it is launched into space at high speeds in the form of an astrophysical jet. Shout out to the person that wrote this article too. Very good verbiage. There are other signs Sagittarius A fired up its jets in the relatively recent past, such as giant bubbles that extend vast distances above and below the galactic plane. The radial dashes, according to Yusuf Sadeh and his colleagues, could be the result of ram pressure produced by a jet-driven outflow from Sagittarius A. And analysis of their extent and position suggests that this took place around 6 million years ago. Whoa. We think they must have originated with some kind of outflow from an activity that happened a few million years ago. It seems to be the result of an interaction of that outflowing material with objects near it, Yusuf Sadeh says. Given new structures seem to be emerging as we build and refine the technology to detect them, we're far from knowing the complete history and dynamics of the center of our Milky Way. Our work is never complete, Yusuf Sadeh adds. We always need to make new observations and continually challenge our ideas and tighten up our analysis. Damn right. Wow. I'll also include this link for your Patreon members so that you can see the image because it's quite beautiful. Again, it's 5 to 10 light years in length, which is pretty out there. The description in and of itself, I mean, the supermassive black hole. Wow, it's just, I remember seeing a documentary about black holes and it's a lot of very dense information that I'm glad there are actual people that are out there doing the research, and because that would just blow my mind. It blows my mind already just reading about it and seeing and hearing people talk about it and the explanations they give, let alone being in the profession of having to deal with like those like theories and data and this. Again, here on the King Angel Show, we celebrate and admire scientists, doctors, astronomers, whole space team, engineers, teachers, educators. Y'all are celebrated and greatly appreciated here, and you have admirers. Me. I am an admirer of yours. And I know one day I'll have a platform big enough to be able to have them on the show and interview them. Pick their brain. Coming from a normal person that did not study any of that. And just reads and sees these videos with you guys in sheer admiration and just mind blown because, dude, we made it this far as human beings. Pat on the back for everyone. Definitely not perfect, and we're not doing service to the world, but at least we're advancing to the point where our curiosity can have answers to it. So that's always great. My cat's already desperate to see me, so your boy's heading out. But you already know where you can find me. I'm all across social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. You can use your Amazon Prime if you want to further support me here on Twitch. You can also follow me on Twitch as well. That would mean the world to me, and you won't miss out on the notification of when I go live. If you want to further support me, I have a 7-day free trial going on my Patreon. Check it out. If you like it, you can subscribe to it. Join the community. It's $2 a month. You got a whole bunch of benefits. You can read about it in the About section or in the description box of the live stream. Or you can just go to the Patreon itself and it'll give you all the information that you need there. Happy Friday. Oh, wait. Hold on. Join the Discord. King Angel's Entertainment Lounge. Let's watch a movie this weekend. Let's have some fun. Maybe not tomorrow. Tomorrow, I already have a thing going on. But maybe tonight. Or Sunday. We'll have a debate. Let's continue the conversation there. There's plenty of science talk that we can have. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to technology and education, knowledge, culture, music, movies. King Angel's Entertainment Lounge. I'll see you there. Have a very great weekend. Happy Friday. For those that are listening to this episode on Patreon, on the audio version, I really appreciate you, and thank you very much. Your support means the world to me. Like I said, have a great weekend. Happy Friday. See you Monday. This is King Angel Show. I'm King Angel, and I'm hungry. A San Francisco Bay Area live streamer and content creator here on YouTube and Twitch, also Facebook. Have a very wonderful weekend, like I said before. Take it easy. Peace.